Hello, hello. Welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn, and today I'm hopping along with the Not Too Shabby team featuring inspiration for this month's subscription clubs. I'm crafting with the Paper Pad Club, which comes with two 6x6 paper pads, and optionally you can also add the coordinating ephemera pack to the chocolate paper pad. And the cards I am going to make today are what I've been sort of calling recipe cards. I had a video earlier this month where I shared a recipe for creating a set of cards. So basically what you need is 2 to 4 sheets of pattern paper. Today I'm using 3, some focal images, sentiments, a shape die for each of them, some solid color cardstock, your card base, and embellishments to taste. So with this, I'm gonna kind of show you the same or a similar technique as what I shared earlier, where I have taped all 3 of my pattern papers together, and that way I can cut them all at the same time and they will all be identical. Now, you can choose to be as precise about this as you want. Really, it can be just about anything because we're gonna fit these all together, but mix them up so that you have an interesting mosaic. And so depending on the number of sheets of pattern paper you use, you want to essentially have the same number of pieces cut out of each sheet. So if you are using 2 sheets, then you just cut the one time so that you have 2 pieces. If you're using 3 sheets, then you cut 2 times to give you 3 pieces, and so on and so forth. So once you have all of that prepared, then you can mix them up so that on any single card, you actually see all 3 patterns. And that's how we're going to make a set of 3 cards from our cuts. In this video, I'm going to show some different ways to put these together. I showed a few ways in my first video when I introduced this recipe. Now this one is definitely one that I really like. So what I'm doing is lining my card base with a sheet of double-sided adhesive so that it becomes edge-to-edge adhesive. And I love buying full sheets like this. They're pretty economical, even though, it might be a little bit more work to craft with them because it's not, convenient tape. And if you are using it in replacement of, say, like a 1/4 inch tape roll, you would have to maybe cut down your strips yourself. But they end up being, if you work out cost per square foot, a lot more economical. And then you can use them for other applications like this, where you want a large panel that is covered edge to edge with adhesive. I sometimes use it for mini albums as well, where I want to really make sure that I don't have any wrinkles and I want to make sure everything's super well stuck down. So what I plan to do is actually adhere these pieces onto that panel, but I want to leave a little bit of a gap all the way around. Sort of like if you were tiling and you had some grout in the middle of each tile or surrounding each tile, kind of like that. But I realized that when I cut this panel, I miscut. I actually cut this panel to 4 inches wide by 5.5 tall, and really I meant to cut it to 5.25 tall. And then on top of that, what I want to do is actually cut a little bit of a sliver away from at least one of the edges where multiple pattern paper pieces meet up with each other, because I need to create a gap. When I cut this card initially, remember each of those pieces, well, they should have been cut to 4 by 5.25. But if I want to leave a little bit of a gap in between every section, then I actually need to cut a little bit away from the those 2 angled cuts that I made. and that creates a little bit of a border around everything. And because I laid down double-sided adhesive, the whole thing is sticky. So where I didn't put pattern paper is exposed adhesive. And you could use whatever you'd like to fill that in. Something like a glitter would be great. I'm using gilding flakes to give it a really nice gold border that looks very burnished. And so you don't need a lot of this. I mean, that little pot is just a small little bit out of the original pot that this came from. I just like to decant a little bit at a time. And you definitely don't want to sneeze or have a fan going because all of these delicate little flakes will just go flying. And I have this little spongy tool here where one side is a scrubber. It's actually fairly rough. And I like to use that to burnish, or not burnish, but just like move the flakes around and get them stuck into those grooves. And then the other side, it's more of a sort of a very dense foam, but it's more smooth. And so I use that to do a final like burnish and polish. So that's one way that you can put everything together. Another way, and I showed this earlier in my first video where I introduced this recipe, I just used some solid color cardstock to again create those lines where we made the cuts so that you have that same look. So you can achieve the same or a similar look, but just using very different techniques. And then lastly, I'm going to give you another technique for, again, achieving a very similar look. So I'm just using some washi where I will cover just a little bit of the pattern paper here. And I am going to just use an acrylic paint marker and color in where I want that grout, essentially. And so you can just color in. You could use, I wouldn't really suggest an alcohol marker because you really need something that's opaque so that it really covers your pattern paper. And that's why I chose, I just use a Posca pen, and it's great because it's nice and opaque, and it'll dry pretty quickly. So where I needed to do a little bit of touch up was where the washi went over, because I didn't really leave time to dry in between coloring each section. But you can see it gives you that same effect of having a really nice solid border all the way around. Now this one's a little bit different because I taped all of those panels back together so that they are the original 4 by 5 1/4, so that I could have a white border all the way around because I drew in a black border. So a couple different things, different ways that you can approach assembling that background. And it's kind of interesting and fun because it's a nice mix of different pattern papers. And this is a great way to have a recipe that can be like a little bit different each time. So it's not like baking cookies where you have to be really precise because there's some chemistry involved with baking. If you don't use the right ingredients at the right measurements, you might not get the rise or you might not get the texture that you're looking for. This is more like cooking a stew where, you know, you can kind of throw into your stew whatever you've got on hand at the time. And so that's my idea behind these recipe cards, is to give you kind of a basic recipe to craft with. And every time you make this recipe, it can be a little bit different. So if you saw my first set of cards, where I made those initial cuts looks pretty different to what I've done on this set here. And in that first set, I used, I think, 2 or 3 different shapes for my creating the foundation for collaging up these ephemera pieces. And here I've just used all the same oval from the Easy Wonder 2 add-on. So, I'm having a lot of fun crafting with this month's paper pad club. If you want to see even more inspiration featuring the stamp and die of the month, the box of the month, and the paper pad club, then expand the description box below. You'll find a playlist where you can see all of the other videos from my design teammates, and as well, this is a giveaway hop, so you can also find a link in the description box with a link to where you can enter for a chance to win a $25 gift certificate to shop at Not Too Shabby. So good luck on the giveaway. I hope you hop along and check out everybody else's video to see what they crafted with and what they decided to share with you today. So I've picked out just a few sentiments, and I have just a nice simple sentiment. I think when I craft with ephemera pieces, I like to keep the sentiment really simple and small. Because I feel like the ephemera is just so pretty that you don't really need a huge sentiment to go with it. And then I just use some glitter enamel dots just to give it that little bit extra bit of sparkle. But here's that first card with the gilding flakes, and you can see that gold border is really fun and really easy to do. And again, if you don't have gilding flakes, you could use something like glitter. If you have like a fine glitter, that would work really well. Also, it's a great way to use up your some of these supplies that maybe you don't use on the regular. Every once in a while, bringing them out is kind of fun. This is my second card. I think this one's probably the easiest one to do because you don't need anything too special, just some solid color cardstock, and you can get that really nice mosaic effect with the same sort of grout lines that really define each of those shapes. And then here I just colored it in with an acrylic marker, and I made those borders nice and straight by putting down some washi tape to mask off the areas I didn't want to mark. I hope you enjoyed these cards today. If you want to check out the recipe when I initially launched it, I'll leave that as a video that you can click on here. Thanks so much, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.